Grab your four-leaf clovers because we're hunting a leprechaun. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about an Irish mythical being. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, I would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about 1993's Leprechaun. I want to wish everybody out there that celebrates a happy St. Patrick's Day. I have my hat on and my silver shamrock shirt, and I figured let's talk about a horror movie that has to do with Irish lore. And that movie happens to be Leprechaun. This movie dropped on January 8th of 1993. It's rated R. It's an hour and 32 minutes long. Had a budget of $900,000. And upon release, it made $8.5 million, which was pretty good return on investment for Trimark Pictures. This was their first in-house produced movie. And they did make a push on it to get it to make some money, and they did make some money on it, and it even made more money on VHS and DVD purchases, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. This movie was written and directed by Mark Jones. He'd done a lot of work in TV, and he wanted to get into feature films, and he thought the best way to do that was with a low-budget horror film, and here we are. Warwick Davis plays the title character Leprechaun. Jennifer Aniston in her first starring role. She'd done a few small things, but this is basically her first feature film in a prominent role. Plays Tori. She is the daughter of this daughter-father duel that buys this dilapidated farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. Ken Olent plays Nathan. He is a painter that gets hired by her father to paint her house. And his other two sidekicks are Mark Holton plays Ozzy. He's been in a lot of stuff, but the one thing that always pops into my head when I see him in this film is he was in Teen Wolf. He played Chubby on the basketball team with Michael J. Fox. And Robert Gorman plays Alex, and he is a kid, like, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 years old. And this film starts off with this old couple. O'Grady steals the leprechaun's gold, brings it back to the States to his farmhouse. The leprechaun follows him, proceeds to kill his wife, and O'Grady traps him in this crate, nails him in, and puts a four-leaf clover on top of it, which traps him in this. He's unable to get out, even with his magical powers. He gives O'Grady a stroke, and then we cut to present day, 10 years later, where we see Tori and her dad rolling up on this dilapidated farmhouse, which was the O'Grady farm, and the old man bought it to fix it up so they could live there. And it's actually a nice setting. I actually like the setting of this film. It's one of the positives. And they hire these three guys to come paint the house and help fix it up. And they do. And Ozzy goes into the basement and ends up breaking open the crate and releases the leprechaun. And then trouble starts. And pretty much the leprechaun wants his gold, which O'Grady hid in this dilapidated truck on his property, which they end up finding later. And the leprechaun ends up killing some folks, and he says cheesy one-liners. And then at the end, well, Tori goes to we find out O'Grady's still alive, even though we thought he was dead. You actually do assume he's dead because he has a stroke. But here he's alive in the retirement home in town. And Tori gets away from the leprechaun using this thing they set up where the leprechaun likes to shine shoes. He can't stand dirty shoes. So they bring out this whole box of shoes and start throwing them all over the place so Tori can get in her Jeep and take off, which the leprechaun follows her anyway, so this doesn't go anywhere. He actually follows her to the old folks, or the retirement home, sorry. And he actually attacks O'Grady and pretends he's O'Grady in his room. And Tori gets away, finds O'Grady on top of the elevator, and O'Grady lives long enough to tell Tori how to kill the leprechaun, which is with a four-leaf clover that she can find in a clover patch by the well on the property. That we walked by this well many times during the film, never saw a clover patch, but when she gets back to the farm, it's there, and they happen to find one. And when I think about a patch, I gotta say this, it's been a while since I've seen this film, probably about 20 years at least. I might even be conservative about that, maybe even be longer than 20 years. When he says there's this clover patch next to I'm thinking it's this pretty big little field of clover. It's maybe 3 feet by 3 feet. That's it. And I don't know. My imagination went to this big field of clover. No, it's like a little plot of dirt that has some clover on it. That's it. Well, they find one. Alex uses his slingshot, shoots it into the leprechaun's mouth. The leprechaun starts disintegrating, falls into the well. They light it on fire. And that's the end of Leprechaun 1993. Now, they made many sequels. I bought this 4-pack of DVDs from Lionsgate for like $9, and it has the first 4 on it. because it's supposed to be streaming on Tubi, the original Leprechaun, but it's not available right now. And I think that's a marketing ploy because it's St. Paddy's Day, and I'm sure this is their big season for rentals and purchases because it's St. Paddy's Day. But the positives of this film, I think the cast is okay. Jennifer Aniston, for her first prominent role, you could see how she ended up becoming Rachel on Friends. She's good here. She's kind of annoying at first and kind of bitchy, but then she kind of settles into the group of these three guys because she has a crush on Nathan. But she kind of settles in with them, and when the shit hits the fan, she actively engages in trying to stop this leprechaun. And the leprechaun only kills O'Grady's wife, O'Grady eventually, a cop, and his store owner that Alex and Ozzy go into town with a gold piece to have him see if it's real gold. And that kill is probably the most fun because he uses a pogo stick and he rhymes while he's pogoing on this guy. And it's probably the most entertaining kill. There is blood in this film. It's not overly gory. The makeup effect on Warwick Davis himself is pretty good, considering the lower budget of this film. The makeup was pretty good. It actually took 4 hours to put the makeup on and 40 minutes to get it off of Warwick Davis. The acting's okay. Not all the performances land, but it's not awful. It's not the worst acting we've ever seen. And like I said, again, you can see Jennifer Aniston why she went on to do what she did. Because I think she's solid here for her first time anchoring a film and the first big thing she's ever done. That's about all the positive I have. I remember renting this back in '93 when it came out. I was 14. I remember renting this from the video store. And I remember never really loving it. I didn't find it scary. I was too old to find it scary at that point at 14. And then I saw it, I don't know, I said I haven't seen it in 20 years. It's probably longer. I saw it on Sci-Fi or something at some point. I watched it. This is a movie that I couldn't remember besides Warwick Davis and the makeup. I've never seen any of the sequels. I remember Jennifer Aniston was in it. But watching it again last night, everything came back to me. I pretty much remembered everything that happened in this film. I would say negative wise, it's too long. Even at 92 minutes, it's too long. There's too many. The stalking scenes just go on and on, and they plot on, and they're not exciting. They're not suspenseful. Warwick Davis is trying to bring some humor to it by giving his cheesy one-liners, and they're amusing. I didn't laugh all that much, but they're amusing for what they are. I think there's a conflicting tone in this film. Now, reading up on this, the director wanted to do a straight horror film. The studio wanted something more like Critters, kind of like a little campy creature feature type of movie. And Warwick Davis wanted to inject some humor into his performance as well. So you can almost feel like the movie wants to be serious, but then you have like this over-the-top cornball lines from Warwick Davis's character. And it doesn't always land. It doesn't always commit to one of those. In my opinion, anyway. I think they should have went more zany with it. They should have just went for it, over-the-top gore fest with this little leprechaun, but they never do that. They kind of, I don't know if they didn't have the money or the director just didn't know how to do it. It really could have used just go for broke kind of attitude. This is one of those movies I didn't really enjoy it all that much. This is a movie that I would have enjoyed more if I was hanging out with some friends, drinking some beers, and we were riffing on it. I would have had a way more better time. But sitting there stone cold sober watching this last night, it just kind of, I just watched it. I was amused by some of it, but other than that, this isn't a great film by any stretch of the imagination. The studio, or getting some trivia here, and before I give my rating, the studio actually didn't want Jennifer Aniston in this role. The director, Mark Jones, actually fought for her, and finally the studio relented and hired her. Mark Jones actually found inspiration for this because he started writing the script in '85. He actually got inspiration for this film from Lucky Charms commercials. And he said, what if we did a movie with a leprechaun, but he was evil and very bad? And that's where the genesis for this project came from. I mean, they made how many freaking sequels, and they even made a remake, I think. I don't know exactly. I'm not a huge fan of this franchise, obviously, so I'm not sure how many they actually made. I know they made more than the 4 I have right there. The film actually made, once it got into the video VHS market and then DVD, it made actually $15 million. So this movie was very profitable for Trimark at the time. Overall, this movie is okay. I would suggest, in my estimation, if I was sitting around with friends and drinking some beer, I probably would have had a better time, especially riffing on the movie, because there's a lot of stuff to criticize about this movie. I'm not going to go too hard on it. Is this a great film? No, it's not even a good film. It can be an okay time if you've never seen it, but honestly, sitting there last night watching it for the first time in 20 plus years, it's kind of boring and it's too long and the tones are all over the place. They don't really commit to one or the other. Like you see parts of it where it wants to be serious and parts of it wants to be corny and goofy, and they never commit to either one. I think it's to the film's detriment, honestly. The setting's nice. This farmhouse, that looks nice. The directing's not that great. It looks very TV movie-ish, not very cinematic at all. At the end of the day, I would give Leprechaun a 4 out of 10. A 4 out of 10 for Leprechaun. Have you ever seen this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I would appreciate that. Have a great St. Patrick's Day. I'll be back soon with some more reviews. But until next time, bye.